Hey guys, Mr. McCullough here. I wanted to show you guys the process of candling eggs really quickly. We have both of these flats of chicken eggs and duck eggs. The chickens should be hatching next week. So by this time now, they should have some pretty good embryo development. Um, so that's why we're going to use this process of candling to figure out if there's a baby inside those eggs or if there hasn't been a baby that developed. So we'll take a look at that. The duck eggs, since they take a week longer than the chicken eggs, they may not have as much development, but we'll get there when we get there. If it doesn't look like there's an embryo inside of the egg, we'll use a Sharpie to mark an X on it. If there is an embryo, and an embryo can be shown with a really dark spot when we shine a light through it, I'll put a black dot on it. So that way when I'm done, I know that I've checked them all, and I know how many are good and how many are bad. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am going to turn the light off because it's just easier for me to see through the flashlight here. Okay, so out of the chicken eggs and the duck eggs, now one of the flats of the duck eggs I didn't even touch because they didn't get put in the incubator until much later. They are 918. But out of the chicken eggs and duck eggs, I was able to figure out which ones have a developed embryo and which ones do not. So you can see all of the ones that do not have an embryo are the ones labeled with X's. So there aren't very many of them. We have a pretty good success rate. I'll go ahead and do the calculations, and I'll see you back at my desk. So see you soon. Okay, so after doing all of my calculations, I found that there were 15 good chicken eggs out of a total of 20 for a success rate of 75%, which isn't bad. It could be better, especially with the incubator that we are using. We could have better numbers. But like I said, 15 chicken eggs possible to hatch are not bad. And then out of the ducks, we had 8 good ones out of 10 for a success rate of 80%. So, and that's not counting the handful of duck eggs that were put in the incubator a week later. So we'll be expecting more ducks the next week. Now the ducks were a little bit different. I didn't necessarily make a yes or no decision on them because they still have an extra week after these chickens hatch. So they have a little bit more time to develop in the egg. Now, I wanted to show you guys an example of a couple of different images that you might come across if you are candling eggs. So the first one is an image of a candled egg without an embryo. Now without an embryo, you'll see that the light goes all the way through the egg. The egg just like lights up, shines. There's nothing to block that light. So you just see a bright orange inside of that egg. That is without an embryo. So what we do with those is we will just toss them at this point. We know that they're not going to hatch, so we will throw them away. The problem that you might get into if you do not throw them away is you might end up with what's called egg bombs, where the egg heats up so much inside that there's a pressure buildup and the egg will actually explode in the incubator. Now, that doesn't mean that a chicken's going to die or anything, but it does mean that you have more susceptibility to bacterial infection inside your incubator, less success rate of hatching next week when we are expecting our hatches. So we want to make sure we get all of that out of the way, and we want to start boosting our humidity so that the ones that do have an embryo inside of them can successfully hatch. The second image I wanted to show you is what a chicken egg looks like when it's candled and there is an embryo inside. Now there's a couple images I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you one that has an embryo that is halfway through developing, and then an embryo that is fully developed. So the one that's halfway developed, you can see that there is quite a bit of growth on the top end of the egg. There's a lot of shadowing. Sometimes you might even see some blood vessels forming, which is a really cool thing. And you know that there is an egg, or there's an embryo developing inside that egg. The second one I want to show you is fully developed. This is what the chicken eggs will look like next week before they hatch. They'll be completely black inside. They'll be filled up all the way with a shadow. You won't be able to see any cool things like blood vessels or anything like that. But you may see the shadow moving a little bit, and that's that chicken moving inside. So that is candling eggs that are incubating and about to hatch, and reasons why we want to candle eggs. So I hope you learned some cool stuff, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.